When it comes to conflict, words are everything. They can be weapons, they can be shields, they can even be olive branches, all at the same time. So today, we're going to dive into some really fascinating sources to try and make sense of the complex and, let's be honest, often contradictory language surrounding the tensions in the Middle East.
Okay, so let's start with this. Whoa, this is a quote that immediately frames the whole conflict in, well, existential terms. The language here is suggesting that this isn't just about policy, it's about the very survival of a nation. I mean, talk about high stakes. This is going to be our jumping off point.
All right, so here's the game plan for today. First up, we're going to look at the bold words of a leader. Then, we'll see how that same language completely shifts when we get into the world of diplomacy. After that, we're making a hard pivot to a direct threat. Then, we'll hear from voices right from the ground, and we'll wrap it all up at the most personal level you can get, just the names of individuals caught right in the middle of all this.
Okay, so first things first, let's dig into the power of a leader's endorsement. I mean, what does a simple statement of support really signal on the world stage? Let's take a look.
So the language here, it's pretty unequivocal, right? There's no room for interpretation. When you describe someone's performance as phenomenal and you frame them as a necessary wartime prime minister, you're creating a really clear and strong political alignment. It's a powerful statement.
But here's the thing. The language of conflict isn't just about these one-on-one endorsements. It's also about broad international diplomacy. And as we shift gears here, you are going to notice a pretty dramatic change in tone. It's like night and day.
Yeah, check this out. This is a completely different kind of political communication. In a speech about a hostage deal, you've got this wide range of Middle Eastern nations all getting a thank you. This shows a really broad, multilateral effort. It's not about one single alliance. It's about a whole group working together.
And this quote, it just perfectly illustrates that diplomatic narrative. The whole emphasis here is on unity, right? A shared desire for peace, and this really optimistic claim that it's very close. It's a total 180 from that divisive high-stakes language we saw just a minute ago. This is all about bringing people together, not drawing lines in the sand.
Okay, buckle up. We are about to take a really sharp turn. We're leaving the language of peace and diplomacy way behind and moving into a message that is, well, it's unambiguous, it's direct, and it is aggressive.
So what you're looking at is a social media post from back in 2020, and it contains a very direct threat. Basically, an intention to order the killing of Iran's leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, if protesters were harmed. I mean, this is such a stark example of coercive rhetoric, using the threat of targeted violence as a straight-up political tool.
All right, let's step away from the political leaders for a minute. Now we're going to listen to the raw emotional language coming from people who are directly involved in the conflict itself. This is what it sounds like on the ground.
So, this first voice we're hearing, it's a plea for divine intervention. It's a prayer, asking for the safety and salvation of soldiers. You can really feel the vulnerability in this language, right? It's about hope and just a deep desire for protection from harm. And then, boom. We're immediately hit with a completely different sentiment. Talk about whiplash. This line, it's from a militant song, and it's all about vengeance and this deep historical enmity. That phrase, sons of Amalek, that's a biblical reference to an ancient existential enemy of the Israelites. It actually echoes that same high-stakes framing we heard right at the start. It's just such a stark contrast, isn't it? A prayer for protection on one hand, and a call for unforgiving retribution on the other. And they both exist in the exact same cultural space.
Okay, for our final section, we're going to zoom all the way in. We're moving past the big, grand statements, past the prayers and the threats. We're going to look at how conflict is ultimately recorded, just through the names of individuals.
What we're looking at here is just a simple typewritten page. The title is Seligson Family, and it lists an address and 4 names. That's it. There's no political rhetoric here, no grand pronouncements. Just names, quietly representing real people.
And here's another one, titled Rosen Family. The format is a little different. You can see the numbered entries, but the effect, it's exactly the same. It just strips away all those layers of communication we've been picking apart and brings the huge, immense scale of this conflict down to its most fundamental unit, the individual, the family.
So, think about the journey we just took. From a leader's powerful endorsement to a diplomat's hopeful speech, from a direct, aggressive threat to cries of both prayer and vengeance, and finally, down to these quiet, simple lists of names. Each one is a totally different piece of the puzzle, which, of course, leaves us with one big question. How do all these different, often clashing voices actually combine to tell the real story of a conflict?